Sutter Creek. Long narrow belts were across the ceiling of the cavernous structure, the sound buzzing, thrumming and reverberating through the warm, dusty air. You may not see the rush of water powering this 19th-century hydroelectric foundry, but there's no mistaking the effect as giant wheels, gears, lathes and planers glide into motion. Sutter Creek's night foundry is the last of its kind, and for Gold Rush history buffs, it's absolute catnip. For most of us, the Gold Rush conjures images of sailing ships, tent encampments and grizzled prospectors panning for gold on riverbanks. Some not-so-grizzled, modern-day gold hunters still do that here in the Sierra foothills, where even hardware stores stock panning supplies. But Samuel N. Knight's foundry, which opened in 1873 at the height of the gold boom's second wave, is staffed by prospectors of the past. And if they seem overly jubilant over the newness of it all, it's a 136-year-old historic site. After all, the celebration is justified. After a 20-year struggle to preserve this place, the Knight Foundry opened for public tours this spring. Drive down Eureka Street, just off Old Highway 49, and you'll spot the foundry's corrugated metal structures, the transition from original wood to metal sheathing motivated by a fire a century ago. Inside, time stands still. It looks as if the foundry's artisans and workers just stepped away from this warren of stacked molds and woodworking equipment, powered by Knight's then revolutionary 42-inch cast iron water wheel. You can still see the cupola furnace that once heated iron to 2,800 degrees and the green sand molds used to shape those molten metal streams into not just equipment for the vast Sierra mines, but ever greater water wheels used to generate electricity in Oregon, Utah and California. Sutter Creek visitors can tour the 19th-century Knight Foundry during the city's Heritage Days on September 23-24. For more travel coverage from the San Francisco Bay Area and beyond, follow us on Flipboard. On this particular summery day, the Knight Foundry Alliance docents are easy to spot in their charcoal-hued foundry aprons, leading tours and offering a glimpse into a past rich in history and engineering ingenuity. This is a California historic landmark. It's also a registered National Historic Mechanical Engineering landmark, and docents are stationed along the tour path to discuss the foundry's intricacies and explain, for example, how coke, a porous processed coal, and iron were layered cake-style in the cupola, so the metal melted in batches. Volunteer coordinator Ron Edgar shepherds his flock of tourists from station to station, stopping at the mold-making section so Joe Harrelson can explain how the molds used for casting iron are fashioned. Even the most unscientific among us grasps the Plato parallels the moment we see the architectural gingerbread molds that were used for state capitol restoration projects during the foundry's last days in the 1990s. Docents share the historical and engineering lore of this gold rusher foundry. We've spent an hour looking and learning when Edgar steps forward and begins moving the levers that connect the shaft line and belt drive to Knight's water wheel. Suddenly, the space is transformed. Buffalo hide belts run swiftly overhead, giant wheels and gears begin rotating, and as each machine springs into action, gliding into place and whirring, gasps of surprise and delight go up. It's like nothing we've ever seen, like something out of Mist, or Arthur Weasley's garage in the Harry Potter books. It's a marvel, and one that was nearly lost. When the foundry shuttered in the 1990s, the National Trust for Historic Preservation named it one of the nation's 11 most endangered historic sites. 20 years of negotiations and rescue attempts have wrought success at last. The land and buildings were given to the city of Sutter Creek on January 1st. By April, the Foundry Alliance had raised the $325,000 necessary to purchase the foundry's historic contents, $200,000 in private donations and an interest 2-year loan to bridge the gap. The rescue continues via those fascinating monthly tours: $5 for children, $10 for adults, foundry apron sales, $40, and fundraising efforts. And merrymakers will fill Eureka Street on September 23rd for the first ever feast at the Foundry. $129, which includes a 5-course Gold Rush-inspired dinner of botanical greens and local chevre, wild salmon, wood-roasted lamb, pies and ice cream, each course accompanied by a local wine pairing from Wine on 49, an association of 9 Sutter Creek wineries, and dance music by the Pine Street Ramblers. And yes, the water wheel will be running. Get ready to be amazed. If you go the Knight Foundry this summer, the Knight Foundry Alliance runs open houses and tours $5, $10 on the second Saturday of each month, including September 9th. The Foundry will also be open for tours on September 23rd and 24th during Sutter Creek Heritage Days and the Feast at the Foundry. Find more information at http://knightfoundry.com. Visit the Foundry at 81 Eureka Street, Sutter Creek. Feast at the Foundry dinner, dancing and Amador County wines are the highlights at this special benefit for the Knight Foundry restoration. 6:10 p.m. September 23rd. Enjoy appetizers in the saloon, followed by an outdoor feast inspired by the gold rush. The $129 ticket includes wine pairings from Wine on 49's boutique tasting rooms and a tasting certificate for all 9 wineries that can be used on September 24th. Order tickets at www.winnieand49.com. Feast at the Foundry. For more food and drink coverage, follow us on Flipboard. More to see. The Foundry is one of several Gold Rush era historical engineering landmarks in Amador County. You can take a surface tour of Jackson's Kennedy Gold Mine, for example, which is open 10 a.m. 3 p.m. on weekends through October. Admission is free. Guided tours are $6, $10, or visit the Kennedy Tailing Wheels Park, where one of the mine's gigantic wheels is displayed behind glass.